Hey, what's going on this Sunday morning, guys? This is the House of Orange Sports Channel coming at you. This is Frank. Um, Tennessee yesterday takes care of business against Vanderbilt. They punched their ticket to the college football playoff. I want to look at today the scenarios. I've sat down and I've written out what I look at as the possible scenarios for Tennessee. And I think there's two scenarios for them, but a lot of this is going to be interesting on the scenarios with the conference playoff games. Make sure you hit that like, share. If you have not and you like the content, hit that subscribe button as well with it, as we'll be live tomorrow night, Monday night show. Basketball Vols play Tuesday night against Syracuse. Women play Wednesday night against Florida State. Should be a fun week of basketball. And then, of course, there'll be games over the weekend as well. That's what on the immediate agenda on here. But looking at the scenarios based on yesterday, Tennessee took care of business. They're in. They are in. There's no way whatsoever you can put Tennessee out of this playoff. Did it start out pretty yesterday? No. It's not how you start. It's how you finish. It's why you always let the game finish out before you start throwing off, oh, we don't deserve the playoffs, blah, blah, blah on it. Because something happens along the way. The only scenario we got to help us yesterday really was Ohio State losing to Michigan. But ESPN, their projection this morning is that we're the 9 and Ohio State is the 8. I'm trying to make sense of this, and I'm trying to look at different metrics along the way. I'm looking at the ESPN FPI right now. I'm not sure if this was updated before or after yesterday's game. I don't really know everything about these metrics. The things I want to look at, strength of schedule, and look at it. So here's how I've got it as of right now. The 4 buys, you got to factor that in. I'm not going 1 through 12 because this is not an accurate 1 through 12. This is, I'm factoring in the 4 buys, and then I'm factoring in the 8 at large. Actually, it's 7 at large because you got to factor the Big 12 champion in on it. Oregon, if they take care of business this week, they'll play Penn State in the Big Ten title game. That'll be Saturday night, 8 o'clock on CBS. If Oregon takes care of business in that one, they're the number 1 seed. All right. And I'm going as it is now, not necessarily how I think it'll happen. As of right now, Texas, 4 o'clock Saturday, plays Georgia in Atlanta, SEC title game. If Texas takes care of business, Texas is the 2 seed behind Oregon in that scenario. SMU plays Clemson in the ACC title game Saturday night, 8 o'clock on ABC. If SMU takes care of business, they'll go into the 3 seed. And then here's a game that will have playoff implications as well. Friday night, UNLV against Boise State. UNLV's 10-2, Boise State's 11-1. I really think the winner of that game gets in on it. If Boise State wins, I feel like that propels them to get that 4th bye in the first round on it. And then the other game that'll come into play, Iowa State, Arizona State for the Big 12 championship. That is Saturday at noon. The winner of that will get in. The winner of that, there is a scenario they could get a bye. But based on how I did it, Arizona State, I think, would be best case the 11th, or Iowa State, whoever wins, best case 11th seed, worst case 12th seed on that. Or actually, there could be a best case where they're the 4th, but I'll go over that in a minute. So there's my 4 buys: Oregon, Texas, SMU, Boise State. I got Arizona State, if they win, down to bottom. Now, I've got Notre Dame 5th on it. I know some may disagree with that one. I know Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois. Penn State's one loss was to Ohio State on it. Notre Dame has taken care of business. So the last 2 weeks, a lot of people thought they could drop one to either Army or USC, and they dominated both of them. I've got Oregon. I've got Notre Dame 5th on it. But then Penn State right now could be interchangeable. Penn State's only loss was to Ohio State, but I think that loss, I know the Penn State loss, the Ohio State loss is better than Northern Illinois. But I'm going with more of a, I don't know. I think Notre Dame's better than Penn State right now. Just my opinion. Doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean I'm wrong. I'm going Notre Dame 5th, Penn State 6th. As of now, Georgia 7, Tennessee 8. Here's where it's going to get tricky. Tennessee, Ohio State. All right. Look at these resumes. So Tennessee's best win was at home against Alabama. Ohio State's best win was on the road at Penn State. Really, you look at that, that's a better win based on the rankings. Penn State over Alabama. You look at their losses, though. Tennessee lost to Georgia. Ohio State lost to Oregon. Okay. Tennessee's lost to Georgia. We'll see where in terms of the rankings. Obviously, you lose on the road at the number one team. That's not a bad loss. But I compare the Arkansas loss, which was on the road, to the Ohio State loss at home. Both teams were double-digit favorites in their games. Both of them lost, though. And their strength of schedules are similar. Ohio State has the 26th, Tennessee 28th, according to, again, I don't know. These are up to date right now. This is the FPI they have on ESPN.com. Now, they have Michigan ranked higher than Arkansas on here, but I still have to look at that of case of Ohio State lost at home versus Tennessee losing on the road. I think that's got to factor in. And, you know, a lot of it's what have you done for me lately? And will they look back that Ohio State has better wins on their resume than Tennessee? That's going to be interesting. I guess the part of me, I'm comparing the losses in this case, that I think the Arkansas loss is a better loss than the Michigan loss was, because Arkansas was on the road, Michigan was at home. Now, Ohio State, according to the rankings, is going to have better wins. I'm putting Tennessee over Ohio State, but I am seeing a scenario where it can go either way on this. So I've got Tennessee 8, Ohio State 9. Either way, I've got them playing each other, whether it's in Knoxville or whether it's in Columbus. Indiana 10. I've got Arizona State 12, and then, 11. Now, number 12 to me right now, I don't think there's any other way to come down to it. It comes down to Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina. I'll be honest, I do think South Carolina is one of the best 12 teams. Here's the problem, though. They've got 3 losses. You can't make a case for South Carolina to be in over Ole Miss or Alabama because both teams beat them. Ole Miss beat them pretty handily at South Carolina. I mean, Bama beat South Carolina. It's close, but Bama still beat them. We've got to factor in head-to-head on this. There's no scenario we can make up where South Carolina deserves to be in over Ole Miss or Bama. So, to me, that puts South Carolina out. Ole Miss and Bama, that's where it has to come down to. And I'll be honest, I'm looking at Bama's losses were Tennessee, at Vanderbilt, at Oklahoma. Ole Miss's losses were at Florida. Who was there? At LSU and at home to Kentucky. End of discussion. At home to Kentucky puts Ole Miss out, puts Alabama in, whether we want to agree with it or not. Alabama in that scenario, I don't see anybody else in here that we could realistically put in on them based on how it is right now. I'm not making a case for the loser of the Big 12 Conference Championship. I'm not making a case for Clemson after they just lost South Carolina yesterday. That puts them behind all those teams unless they're to win this week. Now, USA Today's actually got it right now with Tennessee 8, Ohio State 9. I think that's how it should be. But USA Today also still has Miami in. I think Miami's out. There's no way I don't think you can put Miami in, but I guess it's a scenario to still watch on that one. I know ESPN had Ohio State 8, Tennessee 9 on it. Now you look at this scenario, all right? Let's say Penn State beats Oregon. Georgia beats Texas. Clemson beats SMU. UNLV beats Boise State. All of those are possible, okay? Who goes in as the number 1 at that point? It's going to be Penn State. I think Penn State 1, Georgia 2. I think Clemson then goes in 3. I think your Big 12 champion, or you possibly could even have Arizona State go in 3 if they were to win. Them or Iowa State over Clemson. Then it becomes Notre Dame's 5th, I believe, Oregon 6th, or vice versa. Texas 7, Tennessee 8, Ohio State 9, Indiana 10, UNLV in as the number 12 seed if they were to beat Boise. They're the last team in. That kind of at large then to me comes down to SMU, Bama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, or Miami. I still got to put Bama in over SMU on that. I've already made the case why Bama over Ole Miss and South Carolina. Again, I think South Carolina is one of the best 12 teams in college football. Based on their record, based on they're competing with 2 of the teams they lost to, they're out. I just don't see any other way on it. I know they say it's the best 12, but you've got to factor in head-to-head. It's all opinion as to who's really the best 12 until you play. Head-to-head is what it is, though. So that scenarios, there's a lot of scenarios here. The best I can see for Tennessee is the 8th seed because I can't see if Georgia were to lose to Texas. I think Georgia beats Texas. My projection is Oregon, Georgia, SMU, Boise State is your 4 teams who get a bye, and I think Arizona State gets in as the 5th team based on their automatic bid or for lack of a better term. That's my opinions on who will win with it. In that scenario, then you've got Notre Dame 5th, Penn State 6th, or Texas 6th, Penn State 7th. It's going to come down for Tennessee. I just can't see penalizing teams who played in the conference championship game. I can't see penalizing Georgia if they were to lose, or Texas. I can't see dropping them below Tennessee just because Georgia beat Tennessee. Again, head-to-head has to matter. And I know if Georgia were to lose this week, which I don't think they will, I know they would have 3 losses to Tennessee's 2. But at the same time, I don't think you penalize for playing an extra game. I just don't. I think all that game does, it either gets you the automatic bye or you kind of stay where you're at with it. And I think where Georgia's at now at 7, I think them and Texas possibly flip-flop if Georgia does beat them. I'm just not seeing a scenario where Tennessee goes past 8. I'd said yesterday I thought maybe 6, but if the committee were to come up and penalize one of these teams for losing their conference championship, which I don't think would be fair, if Georgia or Penn State lose and drop, I don't think it'd be fair to Texas to lose and drop. They would have 2 losses, both of them to Georgia, who beat Tennessee. I can't make a realistic case for Tennessee to be above 8. I can make one all day long for Tennessee over Ohio State, though. And I look at that loss with it. We can sit here and compare wins all day long. Yeah, Indiana's in. Ohio State beat them handily. But who did Indiana beat? They beat nobody this year. They beat nobody. Tennessee's list of teams they beat overall, not bad. Not bad. Not great, but Tennessee still took care of business. And on some instances, Vanderbilt was showing up on some teams' lists as good wins. Well, Tennessee, after about the first 5 to 10 minutes yesterday, dominated Vanderbilt on the road. Tennessee, to me, is the 8th seed on it. I compare the loss. That's what it has to come down to because they've changed their criteria so much. I talked about it. To me, Tennessee's the 8, Ohio State's the 9. On that weekend of December 20th, 21st, it should be Tennessee versus Ohio State in Knoxville. I think there's a real good case for that to happen. But either way you go, I think Tennessee will get Ohio State in the first round. I think that's the way it's going to trend. The question's going to be, is it in Knoxville? Is it in Columbus? I am a proponent of what have you done for me lately? And what happened lately was Tennessee went on the road and beat Vanderbilt. Ohio State at home, double-digit favorite, got beat by Michigan. There you go. There's scenarios on it. But I do think Bama's in. I think Bama should be in at this point. We can sit and disagree on it all day long. Miami out, in my opinion. Miami's lost to Georgia Tech, who, golly, that game with them, Georgia, crazy. Syracuse only got, 3 losses? There may be a case Miami makes it. I can't see it since they're not playing an ACC title game. I just can't see it. I think a case with Bama beating Georgia. Bama's losses, again, that Oklahoma loss is going to look pretty bad on them. But I've got Bama over Ole Miss. And again, I just can't make a case for South Carolina. There's just not one for them. There's just no way. No way at this point. But I hope you enjoy the content. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Where you agree, you disagree on it. I could definitely see some disagreement on Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's worst case 6, best case 5th for them. I don't know that there's a scenario where they go top 4. I'm not sure what their criteria is without them playing in a conference. So I guess that one could be interesting to watch as well. But it seems to me best case for Notre Dame is a 5 seed. You guys have a great rest of your Sunday. Frank Rock, House of Orange Sports Channel. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And last but most certainly not least, it's always a great day to wear the orange.